Hello.
Hello? Hello?
Hello. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Curiosity Cove. My name's Veda.
And I'm your trusty captain speaking, and today we'll be talking about Geminis.
Geminis.
Let's
Nice.
go. Astrology
Nice.
Corner has to be probably my favorite thing we cover
Yeah, I
every
do.
single month.
I do enjoy them, especially because a lot of it's just regurgitating shit that's like stored up in my brain. So like
Yeah.
it's a really nice like break from doing research and stuff.
Yeah,
Because it's really
that's
just word
true.
vomit. Like I have notes on a piece of paper. I just word vomited different notes onto our drive right before this.
Yeah.
So but
I like it though. I
before
think it like every single time we do it, it flows really nice.
Mhm.
And I have an interest in this stuff as well, but
Yeah.
I just feel like when it flows really nice and I'm genuinely interested in the conversation and like the topics, I feel like podcast just flies by, and by the time I look at the actual time, I'm like, damn, has it really been that long? Like that's crazy.
Yeah, like have we really been online for this long? It's
Also, I like love talking to you or whatever,
I
so.
know it's like we're like great whatever. Speaking of how was your day? How are you?
My day was really good. I had a pretty solid day at work.
Mhm.
Nothing too crazy, so that was really nice. Left a little late because we finished like some stuff last minute, so I was like, damn, I guess whatever. I'm just pick up some food on the way home. I didn't. I made pancakes, so
Oh, I love that for you though. Pancakes are delicious.
I love breakfast for dinner.
Me too.
I think that's 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
Anytime someone says that, I'm like, yes, please. Where?
Yeah. I love the idea, dude. I used to when I was in college, I ate chicken and waffles for for dinner a lot.
My staple in college was a chicken and rice bowl because
Mm,
you can never go wrong with chicken and rice, but you can
correct.
also like flavor
Add
it a
anything to
million
it.
different
Yeah,
ways.
literally.
Mhm.
That's like I don't know if you saw the picture of it because I think I posted it in IRL on in the Cove. But
Mhm.
my brother like did up a fucking ramen dish the other day.
Oh,
And
I did
he
not. I'll have to go
put boiled
see.
eggs, he put like sliced beef, he put white onion, he put green onion, and
Oh,
it's like
chef.
yeah, it was really fucking good.
Oh, I
um
love that. I'm
but yeah,
jealous.
we've got our garden going too, so like we have so many different peppers that we're about to start experimenting with like pepper tastes or whatever.
Oh, how
Yeah,
exciting.
I'll send you. I have to go water everything after the podcast, so actually I'll send you pictures of how everything's doing.
Oh my God, I get a
Um,
Veda vlog. Let's go.
yeah, that's I'll just like Snapchat flash on through the whole garden and tell you how everything's doing. But they're like eating water right now. Like
Oh,
it's
dang.
been so hot out that they are like
Mhm.
they are drinking like motherfuckers.
They're growing babies. They gotta have it.
Yeah, but I'm
Yeah,
glad you
that's so
had a good
cute.
day.
How was your day?
My day was fine. I what have I done today?
What did
Played a
I
little
do?
bit. I had the work off, which is crazy
Oh,
because
hi.
I'm just not used to having Fridays anymore.
Yeah.
And I know last night I was supposed to play Rocket League with Tomo, which I didn't do because I he fell asleep. I didn't ditch him, but he that's what he's saying. Um
Oh, so
and so he was like we should play Rocket League, da 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 da. And then I said okay, and the motherfucker decided to play Dark and Darker anyway instead. So then I played a little bit of that with him, and then I
you're
feel
like,
like
I
we
want to pro
got
soccer.
on League with Taiga, and she
Of
did this
course.
thing that made me swoon, where she like I think I was playing MF maybe. I was a bot laner, and she was
Uh-huh.
playing Lilia, and I was getting attacked, and she like got them off of me, and she's like, "Don't touch my girlfriend." And I was like,
Oh my gosh.
I'm fluttering. It's Gay
I'm
Pride
fluttering
Month and
my
I'm
heart.
gay
Go
right
doki
now.
doki.
Literally, I said Tyga said don't touch my girlfriend and my heart doki dokied. But yeah, we played League and then it was a lot of gaming because then after that I think me and Tomo finished the Aska demo, which you should try Aska. I think you'd like it.
Oh,
Um
okay.
for Next Fest and then the demo went really really well. It's a really fun game. I can't wait
Nice.
until the full thing is out. I'll probably get it. And then we
Mm-hmm.
played some CS. And it was funny because one of the guys on the team, the first team that we played against, was then on our team the next game. And we loaded in, and he said, "Oh my god, I'm with everybody that just smoked the hell out of my last team." And then he was like,
I love when that happens.
He was like, "I don't mean to sound sexist or anything, but I can't believe I got smoked by a girl." And I said, "You would not believe the shit I hear on this game." And then I proceeded to top frag, and so he was, I feel like by the end of it, he was like, "You're crazy."
You're crazy.
He was like
crazy
11,
hot.
dude. Yeah, he was like 11. I think he might have been in love. But
He probably was.
But yeah, and then after that, me and Tomo were looking up like music kits for CS:GO because he's got one that he's like obsessed with the band that does it now, and I just got one, and I think it sounds like it's like crazy dark, like alternative electronic music.
Ooh.
It's really cool. It reminds me of like Tarkov menu music, so I really like it because I miss
love
Tarkov. And then
Tarkov.
I miss it, bro.
You don't have one TikTok or like Vine where it goes Epcot. It's like Tarkov.
Yeah, but I miss it a lot, so that it reminds me of it. And so we went through this like this whole collection of music kits and like quote unquote what they say about you, and some of them were so accurate. And then we were talking about doing CS:GO bingo, so that's why you saw those bingo cards.
Oh my god,
Yeah.
I was reading some of them, and I was like, I would hit bingo so fast.
To anybody who plays CS:GO, I'll read you one line of bingo.
Wait, I have one that I like.
Okay.
The only one cube or square that I love was the "It's A."
It spotted one enemy and it's actually B. Yeah, that there's a bingo line. There's a bingo line where it's like very loud background noise in somebody's mic. That one, starting on T side, because that just fucking sucks. Opper missing every shot and then a Smurf account. And I'm like, that's every game. That's literally every game.
That's a free space. Thank you.
Yeah, all of those are free spaces. You have a bingo for free. But yeah, so it was just a lot of gaming, and honestly, it's really nice to have a Friday off. I mean, like all of my coworkers are hanging out right now, and they're at a golf outing and like luncheon and thing. I mean, they're probably all home now, but that was like what they did the day, and I did a lot of work, so I'm hoping that the golf outing went well because I did a lot for those like prizes. And so I'm hoping that it went well, and I haven't gotten a call to say that anything went wrong.
Okay.
So yeah, so I'm hopeful, but I've enjoyed my day off, so.
Oh, I love that for you. What a vibe.
Thank you. And it did leave me a lot of time to look up some words to try to share today.
Oh.
For the word with Vadu.
I don't have any cap words because there's nothing that jumped out at me this week.
Okay.
But I'm hoping to scrump your word today.
You can absolutely scrump my word anytime. But let me go ahead. I'm gonna type this into chat, and I want you to try to pronounce it for me because I think it would be funny.
Of course.
Okay.
Try to pronounce it? I'm gonna have to freaking sound this out like a child.
Okay.
Oh.
I knew it'd be funny.
Guys, Syzygy.
You are so close, actually. It's Syzygy. Syzygy.
Syzygy. I was pretty close. I just messed up the pronunciation of the G.
Yeah. So
that's not bad.
So basically, I think that the reason it's confusing is because you're like, is one of these silent? And if so, like, which one is silent?
I thought the middle one would be
Is it just Syzygy and the ZY is silent? I don't
Yeah, of course.
So Syzygy is a description for a celestial phenomenon when three celestial bodies of any sort line up in an almost perfectly straight line. So a really good example of this would actually be a solar eclipse where the sun, the earth, and the moon all line up perfectly. That is a Syzygy.
Oh.
Yeah.
It's also like when in like Hercules, when they waited for the planets to line up to release the Titans and stuff.
So that would be a Syzygy.
Oh.
Yeah. So I was looking through and I said, we're talking about stars today and this is a really cool word, so maybe I'll bring this one on. And plus I think it sounds cool, like Syzygy. Syzygy.
I don't think, well, it's funny that it's such a short word that you think there should be hidden letters in there, but also I don't think I would have thrown in the 3 Ys if I like had, if I was at a spelling bee and someone was like, your word is Syzygy.
Dude,
I'd be like,
I would be like,
excuse me?
Syzygy. SIZAGEE.
E. I think I started out with scissors, like the beginning
yeah,
of
yeah, yeah.
scissors,
Like
and then I already be wrong, so it doesn't matter.
SIC S Z.
Like
Okay, I'm trying to
randomly
spell
throwing a Y
syzygy.
because why not? And
Right,
then just
yeah, yeah.
be like, you're
I
wrong.
mean,
Did you want
truth
us to
be
use it in a
told,
sentence?
this one, I saw the word before I saw how you pronounce it, and I almost got it right. I think I said Syzygy is how I would do it, because Y's fuck me up. So like, because I always think of like the Y in Tyler is I, like it's an I noise,
Yeah.
right? So I always think, I was like, is it Syzygy? And I was almost right. But then I thought about it, and it's kind of like the rhythm thing, where it's just holding the place of like an noise for an I or something. But yeah, this word got me fucked up, and then I said this means something really cool. We're using it.
I love that.
Yeah, people at home, feel free to scrump that word when you're talking about space. And speaking of space, today is Gemini Day. So happy birthday to all of you twins. I know your days are coming up. I have a couple of friends who are Gemini. The only one that I'm going to mention is my buddy Josh. He is like, he perfectly encapsulates a Gemini and all the energy. And so I, as always, I'm going to give you their traits. And then Cap's going to take it over for the love section. Do you know any Geminis?
I have a shout out for some other Geminis. I've got Lozy and Vibes, one of my 2 long-term followers of CapnJaywow forever. And then some Senshi homies. We got Susie QT and Chidori. Their birthdays were this month as well. And then my best friend is actually a Gemini as well.
Really? I didn't know she was a Gemini. That's awesome.
She's awesome.
That
and what makes me laugh is
so
later, like the comparison and like learning about this stuff made me laugh, because I was like, that's not her.
Yeah,
but
well,
is it?
And it's funny too, given your sign and the typical relationship between, because your sign is my guess for worst compatibility. So
yes,
so and it's like a very well known like counter match, you know. So it's funny that you guys are best friends and you have like
I was reading up on it and reading like why it doesn't work, and I was like, what the fuck? This is not us. You get out of here.
Well, excellent. We could explore that a little later. But let me go ahead and give you guys the basis of everything you'll need to know as to why Gemini may or may not work with some signs. So as we all know, we've said it a couple times, but Gemini is represented by the twins. That is their symbol. Typically when you see it, it is just like, it looks like the 2 sisters from The Shining to me. And it's just a pair of twins, and it is like kind of this symbology of like a dual personality, because they are a little like binary in the sense that they can kind of operate 2 different ways. And we'll get into that later, but they're ruled by the planet Mercury, first in our solar system, and they are an air element. They're a mutable sign, and if you guys don't remember from the previous mutable signs that we've had, these are the signs that usually are willing to embrace change and let go of the past, and to symbolize that, they kind of let go of seasons. So for instance, Gemini is when we pass through spring into summer. And then finally, their tarot card is the Lovers. The Lovers upright is for choices, commitments. It is a symbol of falling in love, as the card would imply. When you're at a crossroads, this card might come up in a reading. Reversed, it typically means like signs of imbalance or a misalignment in your love life. It can also represent like a personal self-love or disharmony within yourself. And so that's like the basis of all of the things that are representative of Gemini out in the wild. So as you guys know, I give you the spiel every month. I'm going to go through those 3 major signs: your sun sign, your moon sign, and your rising sign. Sun side is you, who you are at the core. Your rising sign is that face that you put on, that mask that you wear, and how it looks to other people. And your moon sign is that internal emotional part of yourself. I kind of like explaining it like the rising is your face, the sun is your brain, and the moon is your heart.
Yeah, I like that explanation as well.
I've been thinking about that a lot recently because I was having a conversation about astrology with a friend of mine, and that analogy came to me, and I said I should start using that. It's a lot easier to
go to
explain.
podcast.
Yeah.
But also
yes.
what's really interesting though is like because you explain it like that. Granted, the rising will always be your mask or like the face you put up.
Yeah.
But the way that you describe the sun being the brain and the moon being the heart, it explains really well how your brain, aka your sun, butts heads with your heart, which is your moon.
Yeah.
And like why you feel torn inside.
Yeah, we had like a full-blown, like you would think we were high conversation about this. But we were at my brother's got a friend. I mean, they're both of our friends, but like it's one of his close friends. She had a birthday this past weekend, and a couple of the people out there, I was getting to know them, and we got into this conversation. And yeah, I was explaining, I was like, think of it like you know how the way that you look can be perceived differently than who you are, like with your thoughts and everything. And she was like, yeah, of course. I was like, so the way that you appear is like your rising sign, and then the way that you are when somebody gets to know your brain is your sun sign. And those emotional, vulnerable parts that you show, that's your moon sign. And she's like, oh, it makes perfect sense. I was like, you're right, it does. I should start saying this.
I should start saying that.
So moving right into that brain part that we're discussing with these sun traits, per usual, I have both the positive and negative perceptions of these traits. I only have 5 today because Gemini's a little tricky for me. They have like, they're very, I don't want to call them basic, but they're a very simple sign. Like they're very true to themselves, so they're very simple, so they don't have a lot of like crazy different attributes that they fall under. It's definitely like a little more thematic, I would say.
Yeah, and I had a little bit difficulty for green flags and red flags too.
Yeah, they're like very, I love Geminis. Like Josh and I were best friends who hung out every single day together for 6 months straight, because you get to know him once and you know him. And I love that. Like people are ever changing, and Geminis embrace change. However, they embrace change from the outside because they are so aware of themselves on the inside from so early on, and they're so unapologetic about it that like they're going to tell you who they are, and they're going to give you as much information as possible, and then that's it. Like you're going to get, if you ask somebody a question at the age of 15 and 25, like a specific question about themselves, most of the time the answer is going to be completely different. I honestly believe that if you ask a Gemini, like, who are you at 15 and who are you at 25, the answer is probably not going to change that much. Like not in respect to all of the other signs. That would be like my best way to describe like how they are. And the first trait that I have is actually versatile. Some people see this as kind of like a superficial personality trait. They spread their interest among like a whole lot of things. Like they put all their eggs in different baskets, you know what I mean? So there's a phrase out there from a City and Color song that me and Josh used to sing all the time, and I think it's funny because it really applies to him. And reading up on Gemini, I was like, oh my god, so it's all Geminis. But he says, I'm like a jack of all trades who's a master of none. And that very much is like Gemini. They're very quick to move through subjects. They learn as much as they can, and then they kind of move on to the next one. And so a lot of people would see this as superficial, like they can't stick to one thing. They can't, like, you know, they only want to know surface level information, and then they're bored or whatever. But really what it is they have so much fun finding new interests that often these new interests are overtaken by even newer interests, and they always move on to something bigger and better in their minds. So I definitely see this in a lot of the Geminis that I know. I like you can see it in the form of hyperfixations, but really what it is it's like like they genuinely go and they learn something new. So it's not like they hop from, you know, video game to video game to video game. It's like this week I'm really interested in cars, and then this week I'm super interested in learning how to knit, and then this week I'm super interested in learning how to customize clothing. Like they always have some new thing that they're learning, and I think that's so admirable because I myself am somebody who loves to learn, and that just seems like such an exciting life.
I love that because like they get to have super interesting things each week or however long their fixation is, but also like they retain that. Like you can have a hyperfixation and like be really excited about it, but you might still, by the time you switch to something else, you become so fixated on that other thing that you still could like just push out the information you just crammed in there with
Yeah,
this new stuff. But for some reason, Gemini seem to like keep on to that stuff, even if they only like fixate on it for like example, like 3 days.
exactly.
Versus a hyperfixation, which could be for like weeks or months
Right.
even. And
Right.
they get to learn so much stuff so fast and keep it. How
Mm-hmm.
unfair.
I know it truly is unfair. Um, but
It's like a
yes,
superpower.
it really is. And that's how I always see whenever I'm writing these traits out. I always look for the things where I'm like, holy shit, that is such an admirable quality, or like that is such a thing that you like, if you look at a certain perspective of this trait, like that is something that I could never do. Like
Mhm.
I try to pick the things that are very unique to that sign, because
Mhm.
there are a lot of generalized traits, but there are these traits that are unique and work in a certain way that corresponds with the ruling planet, or like the type of sign they are if they're a mutable sign. So for instance, the versatility and the embracing change from being a mutable sign, that makes sense. It makes sense that they would be versatile, that they would be putting their hands in a whole bunch of different pots to learn things, because they embrace the change and they like to let go of things. So they let go of one topic to move to the next.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I love
um
that.
Pairing kind of with it, so in order to be able to learn all of this new stuff, you got to be smart, right?
Yeah.
You got to be smart. Gemini's super intelligent. People will see this as kind of like a ruthlessness, but they're very emotionally unattached in most cases. They're not very sentimental. They lean on the logical side. They're the type of people who like to step back and kind of like look at these situations before them clearly.
Mhm.
um they're super big on dissecting those more like turbulent situations. And so a lot of people will see them because they kind of dig and dig and try to like dissect the issue in front of them. People will see them as ruthless because they're like, it's not like that they're disinterested in how everybody around them feels about the situation, but like their brains work in the way of like, emotions and sentimentality are not involved in this. We need to look at, you know, this kind of like analytical side of it and get to the bottom of what's happening. And like, I need to know, because they're know-it-alls. They love knowledge. Like that's a
Yeah, they like
huge thing for
knowing.
them.
All knowing.
So naturally, if they see something in front of them where they're like, oh, I need to see how this works, everything else kind of flies out the window and they just try like kind of
Oh.
start dissecting it. And so, you know, that's why some people might be kind of like offended or think that they are like a little on the ruthless side, is just because they immediately dive in to knowledge. So think of it this way, like let's say there's a true crime case that somebody brings up that maybe hits a little close to home to them.
Mhm.
Gemini would be the type to be like, okay, I have to know every single little detail about this and like continuously like share what they learn. And if
Mhm.
it hurts that person, they may not be the most aware of it in that time.
Mhm.
However, knowing the Geminis that I know, eventually they will be like, shit, I'm sorry.
Yeah. They're
They'll come back
like you
around
said,
to
they're
it.
very like well aware of like themselves. So
Mm-hmm.
like they'll get really excited about something, but
Mm-hmm.
then it might take them just that half a second more to be like, "Oh, I could be hurting this
Mm-hmm.
person's feeling." But then they feel
Exactly.
like immediately really bad. And then they
Exactly.
try to fix it.
And that actually brings me into my next sun trait, which is
Ooh.
youthful, um, aka immature.
Oh no.
So, Gemini are like our Neverland residents. They are stuck in this youthful, silly, kind of a little bit chaotic, super fun mindset. And so a lot of people would probably look at a Gemini and be like, yeah, you've got some maturing to do, or like, you probably have a few years before you're really grown up. And they'll hear that well into their 30s. I mean, they make life fun for themselves. They're silly and they learn new things and they joke around and they like, you know, they use their humor as their defense mechanism, and because of that, people think that they're immature, but really what it is they're doing a hell of a lot better than we are at keeping that inner child alive.
That's true.
And
that's so true.
To me, I would take being called immature if it meant that every day I woke up and I was having fun.
True.
Yeah. But
and, like living your life to the fullest.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's an admirable trait, especially because of it kind of offsets a different aspect, which is my next one, which is that Geminis live very fast lives, and so they're also sometimes seen as like erratic. If you know a Gemini, you probably know this already, but my god, they can talk fast. And
True.
They talk fast, they move fast, they think fast, they do everything fast. And I know that to some people can seem very erratic, but I think really what it is it's that boredom aspect, because they do tend to get bored pretty easily. I think it's that boredom aspect that makes them move so fast, because they get bored of what they're talking about. They get bored of the games that they're playing. They get bored of the conversations that they've been having. They get bored of the same redundant scheduling thing, which remind me when we get to your section, this trait is why I think that there's another worse compatibility that I know.
Yeah. Speaking of what you're talking about right now, though, about like them kind of getting bored, not that like me and my best friend get bored talking to each other, but like she'll be talking so fast about a topic, and then all of a sudden she'll be like, wait, what was I saying? Oh yeah. And I'll be like, you forgot while we were talking about it?
Yeah.
Like, it makes me laugh because like she still wants to tell me, but just for a second she's like, damn, what was I saying?
Do you also
and then it's half a second more.
Do you also get the thing where it's like it's almost like they are unpredictable in the conversation? Like there's no way, like there's when I used to talk to Josh every single day, there would be nothing for me to predict going into a conversation what we were going to talk about, because he would just say the most like out of pocket things or start the most strange conversations that I just like I could not at all pinpoint what was going on in his brain.
Not necessarily with her. Normally our conversations flow pretty easily. I think it just depends on the day. For example, like she'll be telling me about her day. So she'll be like, I woke up, I like had this breakfast and it was super cool. Took my dog for a walk. But during that conversation, everything will be seeming normal. And like, it's not every time, but randomly she'll be like, yeah. And then like this dude broke a bottle over this guy's head. And I'm like, whoa, where did we get to this? Wait a minute. Like she'll throw in like a very interesting story.
Yeah, like they branch
so
off
nonchalantly. And I'm like, excuse me?
Right. Yeah. Dude, Geminis are so funny, I swear.
They are funny. That should be a trait. Where is it
at? It truthfully, it is. It's one of those definitely like generalized one. Like air signs tend to be pretty humorous signs in general. And knowing the air signs that I do, I would say that's probably pretty accurate.
What are all the air signs again?
The air signs are Gemini. Oh, I don't want to be wrong. Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius.
Yeah. I forget Aquarius is air.
So I always want to say that I have been studying astrology for 12 years, and I still always want to say it's a water sign.
Well, because it's got water
Aqua,
waves.
I know.
Yeah.
It just makes sense. But no, it isn't. It's
Nuna is pretty funny. So
yeah,
I'll give
Nuna's
her that.
hysterical.
And stinky, but whatever.
Yeah. Well, I mean, granted. Self-proclaimed, you know?
True.
But yes, I think the boredom thing is definitely something that fuels their fast lifestyle. And I think that maybe my last trait, which is curiosity, fuels it a little bit as well, just because when you're curious, you tend, like, your attention tends to get grabbed a lot by things. And so I think you very quickly move from one thing to the other because you're always curious about something else. But Gemini are incredibly curious. And I mean, this goes from small to large. A lot of people would probably see this. Curiosity isn't a trait that I really think that can be, like, negated in some way, like maybe nosy, I guess.
Yeah, that's true.
But I didn't put one down because I was like, I have no idea, like, how to really equate this. I did put down a note for gossip, though, because Geminis are fucking gossip queens.
Love that.
They're know-it-alls. Like, they want to know everything, right? And they want to share everything with everybody in terms of information, because as they learn, they like for other people to learn with them. So a lot of the time, a Gemini is not the greatest person to give your secret to. But of course that differs person to person. In my experience, secrecy is never good to do in general. The only secrets that you keep are the ones that you keep with just yourself. But yeah,
Fair.
Geminis are very information based. They love all information, and that includes gossip, which is in fact information. Shout out to all my Bridgerton fans.
Oh, I still need to see season 3.
Oh, dude, me and Kika binged it yesterday. It was great. It was incredible.
I need it so bad. There's so many
there was a
like,
scene.
Mark. There
was a scene where we screamed like it was a touchdown at a football game. Like, it was.
Bro, was it the carriage?
No. It's in the second half of the season.
That part will make me lose my mind.
Yeah, that part was pretty spicy, I won't lie. But yeah, they love gossip, and they love to spread news. So that's why I say, like, by textbook, not the best person to give a secret to, because even though they have high morality, it can waver if the urge to spread information is higher than the urge to keep the secret. Yeah. So that can be a little problematic, but we give Gemini the benefit of the doubt because we understand that it is just who they are, with the love for information and the love for deep connections.
I think that's like a give and take with like most signs, though, or like I guess most people, because like everybody has that balance of like, damn, am I really about to give this secret up for the possibility of their secret topping my own?
Literally,
like, you have to weigh that, but I definitely could see that Gemini would have more of an internal turmoil of like,
right,
do they or do they not, more than like the average person.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So those are my sun traits. So we're gonna move on to your y'all's faces, your masks that you put on. We're gonna talk about your rising sign real quick, just because I think rising is the most generalized. Basically, it follows a lot of the core of who Gemini are, but it's a little more magnified, and they're just very easy to adapt. Like, they're highly social, highly communicative, highly interested in stimulating their minds with conversation. They are incredibly proud of their connections and their relationships, and they value that deep at their core. At times, they can be a little apathetic and a little unpredictable. And again, this kind of stems back to that overlying theme of moving fast, getting a little bored, being curious. You know, they tend to seem like they're apathetic, and it's not you, it's the fact that their mind is craving new knowledge. So that's very much, if you're at a party and you're talking to a Gemini rising, you're going to notice that they seem very excited at the start of the conversation, and then they kind of drift off, and then you're going to see them be very excited with a new person that they're talking to. Um,
I love that. That would make me laugh if I was like people watching at the party.
yeah. That was like, imagine having them like somebody like so bubbly and childlike and like super youthful and happy and stuff, and then it just immediately sinks to like the most apathetic, like bored person in the entire room.
It
And
would
they
make me laugh if I could see the light die
Yeah.
in their eyes. That's what's talking.
Wait, so true though.
If you were just close enough that you could like enjoy eavesdropping on the conversation, like have a good
Mhm.
time yourself, but watch the interaction happen, watch them
Yeah.
be like so done by the end of it and be like, yeah, I
Yeah.
hope you have a great day too.
It's
Ugh.
funny because like I've noticed it in a couple of the Geminis that I do know
Oh my
pretty
gosh.
well, where we'll be out at a gathering or we'll be at a party or something, and there will be all of this conversation going on, and they like find themselves, and I'll watch them like they're like, hell yeah, man, like yeah, man, that sounds great, dude, I love that, blah 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 blah, and then I'll talk to somebody and I'll look back over and they're like, mm-hmm, yeah.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
no.
And it's so amusing because I can just see, usually that's like the point of like I'll go rescue you and like send you to somebody else. Like I'll introduce you to somebody else so you can get a new conversation going. But Geminis are also pretty good. Like I said, they're highly adaptable. So like they usually find a way, even if the conversation's gone like a little dim. More times than not, if they are still interested in talking to the person, they'll just bring up a new topic or they'll ask them something so that they can try to like learn more or like find a new kind of interest within the person that they're talking to. Because a big thing about Gemini is that they also love making connections. So they're not, when they get bored, it's not like they want to leave the conversation. They just want to do something to stimulate their brain while they're in the conversation. So
Yeah, it's not
might
necessarily
be
like with you as a person.
So it might be something, change of topic, change of scenery, anything that can kind of offer them a new experience within the conversation. It'll keep them from kind of like dulling out. And in most of the scenarios where I've watched this, it's just because it's a lot of people in like one room. And so it's just, if they get caught in a conversation with someone for too long, they want to meet more people or they want to talk to more people. So they're like, yeah. But well, I just want to go say hi real quick. And I see it happen all the time. I think it's so funny.
Just real quick, doesn't come back.
Exactly. And then lastly, we have your heart, your moon. Moon sign Geminis. They're like, that's the social butterfly. They are the most social out of all placements for Gemini. They are the ones who really, really work hard to form like deep, long-lasting relationships, super deep connections with people. They're incredibly intelligent. They're incredibly logical. So they avoid emotional topics, but they will still find a way to give you just enough to make that deep connection form. Like they do put in the work. It's just that they do their best to avoid emotional topics because they are strangely the most disattached moon sign in the zodiac. And I think it's crazy because emotional, like sentimentality to Capricorn is like that's in the past. Like that, like the past is the past. I need to move on to the next big thing. So their moon sign, while it's supposed to be that emotional side of you, it tends to be kind of like Capricorns in a way where it's like yes, these are emotions, but that is like a scientific like chemical coming out of our body. It's nothing that I feel like internally in my brain. It's just the way that the chemical releases. Like they're very logical about how emotions are. And so they avoid them altogether because why waste your time on things you already know and not the new things in front of you. Gemini moons are the ones who get like just generally bored easily. They don't have like a lot of attachment to conversations if there's no eventfulness, if there's nothing new to know. But a lot of it comes from anxiety or like kind of like bottled emotions. So it's like if you're a Gemini moon, your boredom usually comes from you getting into your own head because what you're hearing isn't new or stimulating, and so you start kind of like overthinking everything that's in the back of your mind. And
Mm-hmm.
in order to kind of shut that down, you do have to give off this kind of like bored, lack of empathy, like kind of stone cold eye vibe, because you're shutting down your whole emotional being. Like, you don't fuck with emotion, so you're just turning them off. That's like mostly what a Gemini moon is like.
Oh.
Yeah. So it's a little brutal, but like if you be the Gemini moon, it makes sense. Like, they are, a lot of the time they are emotionally disattached. They have to work very hard not to bottle their emotions or allow anxiety to creep through and like affect their relationships. And so that's why they build these super deep connections, and then they start getting emotional.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Whereas most of us as humans bond with people through emotional experiences, they bond with people first and then have emotional experiences after they're sure that that person is a deep connection that they've made.
I kind of want to meet a Gemini moon now, just to see.
I don't know if I know any.
I don't know any off the top of my head because normally it only gets to this part where you're like, oh, that's where your birthday lands? That makes you a Gemini. Like, that's it. But you never
Yeah.
go, like, too in-depth unless you, like, both nerd out about it real quick.
I
you
do
know?
everybody's charts, and I don't think I know anyone.
Yeah, but you, like, nerd out about it.
Yeah,
You
I
know? Like, you're
do.
like, ooh, I want to know. But, like, me,
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, what's up, dude? Like,
A
that's
lot
about
of the
it.
time, I still think it's so funny because it's not like I believe in this stuff like it's a true bona fide science or anything. I
Yeah.
just love knowing things and then meeting people who line up with these things and seeing if it makes sense. Like, I love doing that.
Yeah. But it doesn't have to define the person, but just being like, huh, that does
Just being able to
add
be
up.
like, holy shit, that's like a thing. That's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah. It's so interesting. I love it. Yeah.
Well, that sums up who Gemini are as people. Cap, what can you tell us about Gemini
Gemini's
as
lovers.
yeah.
Well, right off the bat, I won't get your hopes up, but getting a Gemini to fall in love with you is not an easy feat. That's literally the first thing right
You
off the bat.
don't say.
The more I get into it, the more you're gonna be like, "Ah, yes, that makes perfect sense." So actually, they're like notoriously flirty. Like, they're just a
Yeah.
flirty sign.
Oh
They
yeah.
love talking to people. They love getting to know people, whether they get bored or not. That's a different story. And they love to shower people with attention at first, but as we said, they kind of lose interest just as quickly, and they really can just tell you, be like, "Nah, I'm bored here," and leave.
Yeah.
So they're also very blunt, I guess, in that respect. Like, if y'all are like trying to find if there's a connection, any chemistry, as soon as they're like, yeah, no, it's a yeah, no to your face. Like, they'll let you know. There's like no worth of like seeing maybe if it could happen. If they're having like a gut feeling of like, this is a no, they're just not going to put any effort into it because it's not interesting for them. So basically, it said that Geminis require a lover who can exercise their mind to keep them engaged in the love in the relationship. They also love to have a partner who is as open as they are to share experiences and enjoy the world as it is, and to share that sense of humor that they have and the curiosity of the world itself. But the one downside is they don't want someone who's not that clingy. Like, they don't want someone who's like, oh my god, like, I'm all about you, let me just talk to you, and be like gripping your arm, like, tell me all about it. They're like, ew, no.
Yeah.
Like, we can talk, but you can talk from over there.
Right.
And also, like, I like my independent time.
Yeah.
So it's very like two-faced, if you will. Because they love that like flirty, like, attention side, but they're also like, no, you need to give me space. Like, I need time to like hang out with myself. I got my little self-care to do, all this jazz.
Bitch, that sounds like me.
Me too. I'm like, some days I don't want to talk to anybody. I just want to do my own thing, do a little nice hot shower, hang out, work on a few things, but never like am I sitting there and I'm like, oh, I need someone with me right now. Like, I can do my own thing and like be okay with it too. And I love that. I love that a lot. Well, if we're going into the attractiveness of this sign, They're one of those signs that has this infectious personality. They just love exuding energy, positivity, and they love showing good vibes, but that's only one side of the twin. They basically gave the explanation of like, though you may love the like upfront personality of a Gemini,
Yeah.
that could also just be like a facade of being like, this is how they are in person, or like for
Right.
example, if they're around their friends that they're comfortable with,
Mm-hmm.
that could be one side you see. But then, for example, if you take them away from that situation, they could be a completely different person and not as bubbly or like
Oh,
positive.
100%.
Yeah. So they definitely depend on the comfortability factor, but it also depends like their vibe with you. Again, if they don't vibe with you, you'll sure as hell know it and they will not hang out with you.
Oh, for sure.
They live to entertain, inform, and inspire. They do all the work, and honestly, if you don't even bring anything to the table and you just ask them the basic stuff of like, hey, for example, if they like dinosaurs or something, you're like, hey, what's your favorite dinosaur? And they just fucking let it rip.
Uh-huh.
They'll talk your ear off.
Mm-hmm.
And all you have to do
Mm-hmm.
be is an active listener of, yeah. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
tell me more about that. You can have your ear talked off for hours. And they'll like love it. No way, no how do you have to ever like interrupt or like say your 2 cents. No. They'll keep it going for the both of you. And I
They're
kind of love
great
that though.
people. They're great people to ask if you like, if you know they're into a topic
Hmm.
and you have a question about that topic, and it's for something like, I need to know this and I need to like commit it to memory somehow. They're a
Yeah.
great person to ask because they also like, in the way that they explain things, they typically double down on explanations. So
Hmm.
they'll be like, you know how I do this with like, oh, like as we've talked about before, and I reiterate things.
Yeah.
That's such a Gemini thing. Like I think I picked that up from my Gemini friends.
Really?
Yes, where like it's, I like to do, I have, okay, so I have this really good Gemini friend, right? And she does this thing that I think is really fucking smart, where
Mhm.
her name is Alex, and she will go up to people and she'll be like, "Hi, yeah, I'm Alex." And then they'll say something to her and she'll go, "I'm Alex, by the way." And then blah, blah. Like she does it a couple times at parties and stuff. Like if the
Oh,
conversation is prolonged, so that the person doesn't feel bad if they forget her name.
that's kind of sweet
It is.
though.
It is such a sweet thing, but it's also like, it's so smart. And she was like, "Well, the way that my brain works is that I like to share information, and the people that I'm telling things to, I like for them to be able to retain it." So she's like, and I always phrase it in a way that it's not like I'm saying this again because I think you're stupid and you're not getting it. It's like,
Mhm.
oh, I know I'm talking fast. So when I was talking about this, that does X, Y, Z, A, B, C, D, whatever. When she does that, she's like, I'm reiterating it because the amount of words that I'm saying,
Too
things can
fast.
get lost because of it. And so I
Mm.
reiterate the important things. And I'm like, dude, I'm coming to you anytime I need to know something. Because she could talk for like half an hour on like the smallest subject.
Uh-huh.
And somehow I would retain the entirety of what she was explaining. That was
She'd
how.
be a great teacher.
That's what I said.
Yeah.
I
That's
said she'd be
crazy.
absolutely going
I
to
love
teach you.
that though.
Mm-hmm.
I love that they can like also give you, for example, if they are talking about like a topic or for example a story and
Mm-hmm.
they lay it all out you with every single detail, they do let you remember like the summarized, the spark note version, if you will. But I love still being able to get the every single nitty gritty detail. But like not having to remember all that stuff is not the problem. But I still love hearing the story about it.
Especially people like us who are like so caught up in watching people talk about things they're passionate about. Like this is such an ideal. It makes sense to me that you are very close to a Gemini,
Mm-hmm.
because Geminis love to talk and you love to listen.
True.
So it's like a perfect pairing.
It is. I love it. My final attractive trait is that, again, as we said before, they are very youthful, active, and all around smiley was the adjective they used. It says they always attract second glances because of their glowy aura. And that they always, again, just have that very positive energy that they exude, and that they're just
Mm.
kind of like comfy space. As long as they're comfortable, of course. This is all within grounds if they're like comfortable in the situation or with you. And I love that. I love a good positive energy from another sign. Like, I think it's really cute and like upbeat, especially comparative to a sign that like might not be
Right.
as positive or like happy go lucky. And I'm not saying everybody has to be, because there's no way. I mean, more power to you if you are, but you
Right.
don't always have to be. And I love
Exactly.
that you can always have like that person, if you do know a Gemini,
Exactly.
that can like well balance that. And it would be
Mhm.
really a nice pairing would be the term that I was
Yeah,
looking for.
because that's the thing is like a lot of the time in any sort of like duo scenario, so whether it's like, a teammate, a partner, a
Yeah.
relationship, a friend, balance is really important. Like you want somebody
Mhm.
who's going to give and take with you. Like for instance, like me when I was younger and I met Lexi, the reason our
Yeah.
friendship was so like immediately good and healthy for one another is that we taught each other a lot of things. Like like I would say that we were both very spontaneous, but she was probably a lot more spontaneous than I was. And
Mhm.
so I kind of taught her to reel it in and like chill out every once in a while, but she
Mhm.
taught me how to like go out and be loud and like have fun. Like more
Oh, I
than
love that.
like cuz spontaneousness is fine. Like me and her would do a lot of stuff together, but like she kind of pulled me into more like big social situations, and I kind of
Mhm.
pulled her into more like really chill, like kind of intimate things, like going on a drive and just talking a whole bunch, or like
Yeah.
things like that. And not to say she didn't do it before, but I feel like both of us kind of like embraced that part of each other.
Yeah.
And I think that's why like our friendship was so balanced, because I was so much more of like a chill and get to know and one-on-one thing, and she was very much like I love being with people and being out and blah 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 blah. And so that
See, that's a
balance is
nice
really
pairing.
nice. Exactly.
Yeah. I love that a lot. That's so
Mm,
cute.
yeah.
Adorable.
Hmm.
Well, now we're up to the guessing board
Excellent.
of we're going to start off, of course, with best compatible matches, and we'll bring it around to the worst compatible matches. Veda already guessed one of the worst compatible
Yeah,
was Pisces.
I have two theories for least compatible. I have no theories for most.
Oh,
It's
really?
yeah, it's a little difficult to me to think of who Gemini pairs well with, because they
Uh-huh.
are such a like they could pair with a lot, I think is really what it is. And I
Mm-hmm.
imagine they would need somebody exciting. So I would imagine like a fire sign, but I
Mm-hmm.
don't think I could tell you which fire sign it would
Yeah.
be. Like I get along really well with Gemini, so maybe Aries, but also
Mm-hmm.
like I don't know if I would ever date a Gemini. So I
Oh,
can't
fair.
I can't say from personal experience that Aries would be good, but then again I've never tried dating a Gemini. And
Mm-hmm.
then when I think about like Leo and Sagittarius, Leo almost seems like it could be a good choice, but they're like I feel like the dual like fast boredom thing
Yeah.
would probably make things fizzle a little bit. But
Mm-hmm.
I can't say for sure. Gemini's tricky to me.
Yeah.
Um so I think I'll just generalize it and say a fire sign
Okay. And
is probably in there. And then
then you want
for
to hold off your guesses for worse when we get there, or do you want to say
sure.
them now?
Sure, yeah. Take me through the
All right,
best and
bet.
then I'll guess the worst when we get there.
Well, the best match for Geminis is a Libra.
A Libra.
Uh-huh.
Interesting.
Libra is considered to be the best Gemini match. They share a great desire to learn, and they both are able to converse very intelligently with people from all backgrounds and every walk of life. Gemini is
Mm.
also able to understand a Libra's rather indirect communication style, and they both understand each other on a very
Oh.
intuitive level. Additionally, both of these signs love flirting. They just love like talking with each other, throwing in little like hints of flirting here and there.
Hmm.
And they also are not the signs that'll get annoyed with each other or overly jealous if this, for example, if they are in a relationship and they start doing this to a possible like other person that they're just talking with, for example, at a bar. If they like go out and then like one person's like, I'm gonna go get a drink, and they're at the bar and they're like lightly flirting or like talking with someone at the bar, the other person or both of them are not like seemingly high in the effects of like that they're gonna get jealous right away or be like,
Right.
oh, I saw who you're talking with up there. What was that
Right.
about? They're both going to be like, oh no, like I would do the same. Like I would want to talk to someone just to get to know like a quick little snippet and then come back to the person I came with.
Right.
Yeah. And they also find each other very entertaining and like a good balance for each other. And they both will have a very active social life because, as we said, that like Geminis would like to talk to a bunch of different people, get to know different people. And that also, in regards, means that they have to be in the likes of going to very social events
Mm-hmm.
or like going to big places where a lot of people will be and be
Right.
very comfortable in that situation,
Okay.
which
Makes
Libras
sense.
also balance with.
Yeah, makes sense.
Mm-hmm. So there are actually also 2 fire signs in here.
Oh, baller. Okay.
We have both
Honestly, it makes
Aries
perfect
and
sense.
Leo.
Oh, dope. I had a feeling Sagittarius is like a little too reined in, I think.
Yeah, that's literally what it said. Like on
Mm-hmm.
the comparative scale, they're saying like Sagittarius isn't like the worst match, but it's not like the best because
Mm-hmm.
like they're kind of more of a stationary kind of sign
Mm-hmm.
and it's not enough for a Gemini to be like jump the gun and like go with it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. So for Aries, basically it said that they love to push all the right buttons for a Gemini. They're probably the only sign that has a faster impulse to do something than a Gemini, which ensures that they rarely have a moment of boredom between them and they're very spontaneous together.
Okay, I
They
guess that
push
makes
each other
sense.
to be the best versions of themselves, not to mention that they have tons and tons of stories and experiences to talk
Mm-hmm.
with each other about. But the balance for a Gemini, while the Aries are very spontaneous and be able to like match that side for a Gemini,
Mm-hmm.
the Gemini is able to manage the combative nature of an Aries in a way that very few signs can, which means they're very easygoing with an Aries and they don't very easily get riled up or upset about a situation if like a conflict were to arise,
Mm-hmm.
which I love that.
Yeah, that's
Cause like
interesting.
I feel like if you have a fire sign, not that they're like emotional in a way that they'll like shout at you or like come at you, but like if it were to have happened, that a Gemini will just like sit there, let it happen, and then whether they choose to blow up back, which is them handling the situation like going head for head right
Mm-hmm.
there, but they also have the opportunity of like diffusing the situation and like handling it.
Yeah.
And I feel like you need that for a fire sign.
No, I would
At least
say
that's what I think.
yeah, I would say that's pretty accurate, especially because like so my girlfriend Alex, the Gemini,
Mhm.
she diffused a lot of situations for me. Like I was a lot younger when I knew her,
Mhm.
and she was very much like the if we were fighting, like it would be a lot of me going like blah 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 what the fuck because this is how I feel and da 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 and she would just
Mhm.
sit there and let me scream and yell and cry about everything and at the end
Mhm.
she would be like okay, let's be done yelling. I understand how you're feeling. And like she was just always so good at that. Like she talked me down so many times. And
Mhm.
I was always able to like kind of in retrospect look at what I was doing cuz like how many times do I do that now? When I have a problem with somebody, I never do that.
Yeah.
And
It would
I
have to be like a in the moment kind of thing for me
oh,
to
for
ever even
sure.
think that you would.
For sure. And so and
Yeah.
because of that, it's like it's very much something that I learned when I was younger because of one of my good friends who happened to be a Gemini. Um
Mhm.
because she would always like talk me down. She'd be like, you know, I know that you are feeling this and I can hear you without you having to yell it. And I would be like, you're right. I'm sorry. Like, this is just like how blah, blah, blah. And it would be like in the midst of us fighting, like what I thought was going to be the end of our friendship. So I would be like screaming. I'd be like
Mhm.
putting all of my arguments
Crying,
out there,
upset. Yeah.
literally. And it just it she was just so good at like talking me down and bringing me to the point of like having a conversation rather than fighting.
Yeah. Which I think like any friend group or like duo, you need to have that because A, you're never going to get anywhere if you're just shouting at each other. Like no one's going to comprehend what's going on. And also B, that just shows like how emotionally mature you are as a person to like take that the yelling. And then not only to like understand why this person's upset or want to understand why, and then taking a moment to then finish the conversation with that person
Right.
to try and like figure out what happened or like how you can fix it, especially if it's like a problem that you yourself created but you didn't understand why it hurt the person in the first place, because that happens a lot. And all it takes is
So
like,
true.
you just need to know. Someone just needs to tell you and like be like, hey, listen, I'm really upset about the situation and I don't want to come across as rude, but like you fucked up. And like that's hard to say on its own, like calling someone out on their bullshit like in a rude way. Not that it's rude because like you need to get it off your chest in the first place, but to then like have to sit there and have the conversation where like they might not know they did it, and then you need to come across as like how to explain yourself. But like what if they don't understand and they come at you about it? Like there's so many different variables that to break down
Yeah.
that conversation on its own.
Yeah, and there needs to be like somebody in the friendship, like I guess, who is courageous enough to like start that conversation.
Yeah,
I'm that person in a lot of my friendships. Like
me too.
I'm usually the one who's like, "Hey, there's something that I really want to talk to you about." But it's almost nice because eventually you get to this point with a person when you do it enough. Like Lexi comes to me now. And it always used to be like I didn't want to upset you, or like I didn't want to, make you feel like I was mad at you or blah blah blah. Like she used to always say that when I would bring something up and I'd be like, "Hey, I know something is going on. Like, are we okay? What's happening?" Now she's like "Hey, I want to talk to you about something real quick." And like it becomes this like very natural thing, I think, when you are in a close relationship with someone, because you get to that point where you're like, I no longer need to worry, like this is a person who's in my life unconditionally,
Yeah.
and so I don't need to worry about bringing something up to them. I don't need to worry about how they're going to perceive it, because even if they perceive it bad, we'll work through it. Like it's
That's how
kind of
me and my best friend are too.
hmm
I never have to worry about it. I just know like if I come to her with a problem, whether that's about her or about something in my life, nothing that I can say or do within reason will ever have her leave me or
right,
leave my life entirely. There's
right.
no way. Like we'll always find a way to talk it out and like figure things out.
Yeah, I
Mhm.
think I think there's very little that I could see me or Lexi doing to each other. And I can say it confidently just knowing the type of people we are. Like I don't think any of the scenarios that would be like deal breaking could ever happen to us, because we're
Oh
just not the
yeah.
type of people to bring them on. But I think there's very little that we could do or say to each other that wouldn't result in like, a 2-hour conversation max
Yeah.
here and there to like
Mhm.
really talk it out and be like, no, like we're chill, we're good. And so I imagine that's a really nice quality that you
Mhm.
find in a lot of Geminis, is like just that
Yeah.
ability for them to kind of like diffuse
Ease that
and work through
overthinking.
everything. Yeah. Like
Yeah.
I just imagine that I see that quality in a lot of people, but I imagine it's very consistent in Gemini. It makes sense.
Mhm. I love that.
Hmm.
So continuing on with best compatible matches, I've got 4 total. We went through 2. The
Okay.
other one is Leo.
Nice.
As we said, with fire signs, they're very outgoing and sociable by nature,
Uh-huh.
and they love to engage in lively conversations and a wide range of activities, which is also something that a Gemini would fancy. So just
Hmm.
naturally, it really helps that they have that like little spark for sociable activities that they can just bond over, bond with, talk about, all that jazz. So they have that mutual respect for each other's intellect and creativity, which further strengthens that bond and creates a more dynamic partnership. Because I think between these two, I wouldn't say it's a very stable relationship, meaning that there's not a lot of give and take and like they just kind of get each other all the time. I
Hmm.
would say dynamic would be a better definition of this partnership, just because I feel like there would be a lot of highs and lows and like time apart, time together,
Yeah.
hanging out all the time, and like wanting to do certain things to each other with each other, but like also wanting to experience something for the first time on their own
Mm-hmm.
would be completely okay with both of them, but they don't like and then they could talk about it together, but they don't necessarily have to do it with each other. And I kind of love that they can
Yeah.
have that little like moment apart and then come together and be like, "Oh my god, you would have no idea like what I just did. That's so
Yeah.
amazing." And they would just like blow up with like word vomit of how exciting something was, and I love that.
I
I think it's so
imagine,
cute.
yeah, I imagine it would be like a very fun, eventful, like communication based
Yeah.
relationship.
Mhm.
Yeah, cute.
The big challenge though, because obviously as I said, it's dynamic, so there has to be some lows.
Mm-hmm.
The challenge for the relationship actually comes from the Gemini perspective. It says that they tend to wander off rather than try to work through some problems. They didn't say
Mm.
100% of the time, but if, for example, there is consistency in certain problems arising in a relationship, for example, not that they'd get upset overly too much about this, but for example, if a Leo was consistently flirting with a specific individual or
Mm.
multiple people when the
Yeah.
Gemini has brought up certain issues before, but the Leo lashes out saying, "Nuh-uh, like I didn't do that. There's no
Right.
way." The Gemini would be like, "Okay, well, I'm sick of this." And
Yeah.
instead of
Well,
talking it out over and over and over, they're just gonna
mm-hmm.
leave.
Well, and
Like they're
think
sick of
about
that.
it. Yeah, think about it from like the perspective of all we've learned about Gemini today too. It makes perfect sense. Like
Yeah.
they're very like, okay, it's in the past, it's already happened, like I don't want to focus on it anymore.
Yeah.
They're very like, okay, I'm bored and nothing is changing, so I want to move on. Like
Mhm.
they're very like know-it-all-esque, right? Like they like information. So obviously they're gathering this information and they're very sure of what they found. All
Mhm.
of those add up to, okay, fuck you, I'm moving on.
Yeah.
Like,
And I think that's the thing. It's the quote unquote, there's nothing changing.
yeah.
So if they can sit here and overthink your next step to the point where they know for a fact that you're just going to do it again without
Hmm.
hesitation, without trying to change your action in the next moment, why would they say they're wrong?
Yeah.
Because they're just sitting
Especially
there knowing.
especially when they put so much value into their connections and their
Uh huh.
relationships. Like if you don't value that the way that they do,
They're
of
gone.
course, yeah, of course they're gonna go.
Yeah. Like there's no reason for them to stay. So like why
Exactly.
would you do that to them?
Exactly.
I respect the hell out of that for them. I love that.
Literally same.
And the last sign bringing it up for best compatible matches is an Aquarius, another air sign.
Oh, interesting.
So it's actually common for Geminis to get along with fellow air signs just because I feel like we hear this in a lot of the signs that we're going over each month is that
Yeah.
like whether or not they have best compatible matches in other like groups of signs,
Hmm.
it's always for sure that there'll be one common air sign,
Right.
fire sign, earth sign within that realm. So I was actually surprised, number one, to find that another air sign was their best match. But I'm also not because I feel like air signs, if I was gonna point a finger as like which signs that I think would get along easiest with each other, I would say air signs,
Oh, for sure.
100%. So I
100%.
wasn't shocked,
I
and I kind of
think
love that.
air signs, I think, are so easy to get along with in general
Yeah.
that like air signs pairing up with other air signs. I mean, you have two incredibly intelligent, adaptable people
Yeah.
in these different signs. So I mean, it makes perfect sense that you would
Mhm.
have, like an Aquarius and a Libra in a room, and of course they're going to drift to each other and they're going to
Yeah.
have this amazing conversation and they're going to get along super well because they're both going with the flow. That's like the whole thing of air signs.
Yeah. That's what I was literally gonna say. They're going with the flow, and I
Yeah.
love that. So basically what it said was that the Aquarius is very independent but curious and provides that interesting banter and gives the Gemini space enough that they can have that very even go quote unquote literally go with the flow companionship where it's not difficult for them to find a nice balance between the two of them, and also it's never boring for either of them, so that really satiates that need from the Gemini, which I love. But it is said that the Aquarius may not be able to converse on as wide of a range of topics as a Gemini can, because as we said, they like to hyperfixate on like certain groups of things or quick topic changes, and Aquarius is one of those people who likes to focus on certain ones specifically and become like super knowledgeable in that realm, but also want to info dump on those certain things, but they're not like wanting to turn away the Gemini from sharing everything that they know. So even though they might not be able to like withhold that information that like a Gemini can, they love to talk about what they know, but they just love hearing the other person talk about their stuff. So they're really good listeners. And I think that's such a cute little pair. It's so cute.
That is adorable, actually.
And it says they're a match made in heaven, but they're troublemakers.
Yeah.
The both of them.
I
think it's such a cute little like relationship thing.
they're like a duo of like they're a really sweet couple, but also they're kind of shit starters.
Yeah. Like you can see like, for example, a Gemini and Aquarius in the corner of a room, and you can see them giggling,
like,
and the next
like
second you know if you pan
at
across
each
the
other.
room, something's about to hit the fan, and you know they started it. And I love that.
That's so funny to me.
It's so cute. I love it. And here we are bringing up worst compatible matches, and I've got 3 for you. You guessed 1.
All right.
And I've got 2 more.
So Pisces, so the reason that I think Pisces doesn't get along with Gemini, or like maybe is not a great match, is maybe just like the emotions involved. Like I think that they feel differently because like Pisces is the most emotional sign. And Gemini is one of the most disattached signs. So I just feel like I guess it could balance out, but I just don't see it happening. The other one, okay, do you remember last month when we were going over Taurus and we were talking about how they are like the slow sign?
Yeah.
There's no fucking way. There's no fucking way that the fastest sign and the tortoise and the hare do not end up together. There's no way. And so those are my guesses.
Gotcha. Well, you got 2 out of 3.
Nice. Hell yeah.
The final one, bringing it up, that I'm going to start off with is Scorpio.
Oh, really?
Yes. And it's really funny because it brings in your comment about Gemini being the quote-unquote jack of all trades and the master of none. The Scorpio is the direct opposite of that. They are the master of one and the jack of no trades.
Interesting. Okay.
So basically, they're really brutal with this one. It's saying that they have no common basis for understanding each other at all. They're very difficult time communicating with each other on top of that, especially for Gemini being a very communicative sign. Apparently just does not work in this situation. They just don't want to talk to each other. They don't really get each other. And the differences between them are not easily reconciled. They have an even more difficult problem, whereas the Gemini has an absolute need for social engagement, while because of that, they want to like flirt and like talk with a whole bunch of people. So it triggers the fuck out of Scorpios because they get so jealous. So even though a Gemini might not be meaning to like be all that flirty or like come across as like, if they are in a relationship, quote unquote cheating, the Scorpio will blow it out of proportion and be like, no, you're doing this on purpose. I can't believe you would do that. You're talking with all these people about this and that. And they'll be like, no, dude, I asked him what his favorite drink was at the bar. And he'll be like, no, you hit him up and you got his number. And it could be totally false. But the way that they just don't meet at all, this is like doomed to happen. This is like one of the worst matches.
Wow.
Yeah.
I never even thought about that.
I didn't either. I knew for a fact Pisces because I just, in my brain, my guess was like, it's me and my best friend. We're supposed to not be together, bro. It made me laugh.
Wow.
Excuse me, but bringing in Tauruses, exactly as you said, the fast-paced intellectual Gemini may find a grounded, routine-loving Taurus too slow or even boring.
Yeah. It's just, there's no fucking way. There's no fucking way.
I feel like for as grounded as a Taurus is, no air sign and no fire sign would be like, yes, please.
Yeah, there's no, you ain't finding a fucking Aries.
No way.
Or a fucking Libra or a Leo or none of them are gonna look at Taurus and go, yeah, your lifestyle's
maybe
perfect.
A Sagittarius.
Maybe Sagittarius is like, I like to think that like of the 3 fire signs, like me, and I got my arm hooked around a Leo and I got my arm hooked around the Sagittarius, and I'm like, yo, we're gonna go out, we're gonna party, we're gonna have so much fucking fun tonight, we're gonna do, and the Leo's like, yeah, we're gonna get fucked up, we're gonna do karaoke, and then the Sagittarius is like, and then we'll be home by midnight. Like, that's how I picture it, you know?
I just picture them with like the little flag, like, yippee.
Yeah. They're like, yeah, it's gonna be so great.
But they're like dying inside. They're like, yeah, so much fun.
Literally.
We're not bagging on you guys, Sagittarius. I just think
No.
funny.
I just think it's just very sweet because you guys pass as a fire sign, but like you're so not fire sign-esque. Like you're so much more self-controlled than me and a Leo. You know what I mean?
100%. Yeah.
It's a compliment, I promise.
It is. We swear. Fingers crossed. So the Gemini would need a more of a variety from the Taurus, and they really hate doing the same thing over and over. And
which is
over.
like a Taurus's whole thing.
Yeah. So neither of these signs are very combative. They don't want to butt heads and like be in a conflict. So like they'll just avoid each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're gonna ghost each other at the same time. That's gonna be what that's what happens.
Yeah. So it literally says, this is really good because like sometimes it works out because like they don't necessarily like fight all the time. But then again, like the Scorpio, the Taurus gets really jealous, and so Little Miss Flirty Pants Gemini or Little Mr. Flirty Pants will piss off the Taurus and Scorpio to no end because they get jealous.
Yep. And that's the thing, like, I'm going to tell you right now, a Gemini cannot be with a jealous person. It just doesn't work. Because Geminis they're social by nature. They connect deeply by nature. They are free by nature. And if you are jealous of any of that, it's never going to, because that will never change. That will be consistent throughout an entire Gemini's life. Yeah.
Insane. But also you hit the nail on the head for the Pisces, like the reason why. So basically the Gemini's logical and rational approach to life easily contrasts the Pisces emotional and intuitive nature. While this difference isn't necessarily like the worst thing, it also provides a really easygoing, balanced dynamic where they're able to like meet on certain grounds and like talk about certain things, because even though a Gemini is detached from their emotional side, they also still love conversation enough to where if a Pisces needs to talk about their problems or a situation that involves a lot of emotion to it, the Gemini is going to sit there right with them and talk it out. Yeah. They don't have to come to a solution. They don't have to figure out like why XYZ happened. They just want to talk it out just so they can like lay it all out. And if a solution arises, sure. But it's not exactly like the end goal, where that's also the problem with this dynamic is because the Gemini might find some slight confusion where they will be trying to look for an answer for the Pisces, but the Pisces is like, oh, nah, bro, I'm good. Like, that's all I wanted. I just wanted to vent or, like, emotional dump my baggage. But, like, it's not for you to pick up. It's just, I needed to let this all off my chest because it was like hurting me. And then the Gemini will be like, oh, well, I mean, I'm glad I was there for you, but like I don't really have that emotional support that like you need. And so also the Pisces is really emotional to the point where like they get really nervous about intimacy with other signs in general. So when a Gemini is like talking it out or like wanting to have that level of intimacy with the Pisces sometimes gets scared off because even though they like having those emotional connections and like talking it out with people, that intimacy is sometimes their secret side, which is what Pisces love to keep. They love to keep secrets close to themselves, especially if they're their own.
Right.
So when a Gemini's like, hey baby, they're like, hey no. And you're like, no, thank you.
Yeah. See, and
which I find like that's a really good friendship.
Yeah. And
Pisces
that's what I would say is that's why I was
Yeah.
like unsure, because I was like it could balance out, because in a friendship aspect I see it balancing. And if you take a friendship into a relationship, it means you've already found that balance. It's just an adjustment, right? But like I think if you were to like set a Gemini and a Pisces up on like, let's say like a blind date, or like let's say it was like a Tinder swipe thing where like you don't have that foundation, I think involving romance right away would be a little tricky, because some Pisces really need understanding. And if a Gemini can talk things out, that's great, but can they understand? Like,
that's the thing. It's the emotional support.
Yeah, and that's the tricky thing, is that, you know, 9 times out of 10, the Pisces needs you to understand fully. They don't need you to sympathize. So it's like this thing of, can you go that extra mile? Or is this maybe something where you guys are really good at talking things out, but not moving forward?
Yeah. And it really depends, like, at this point, if we are talking about, like, the friendship stage of things pre-relationship, I think for this to happen, number one, I think they have to be friends first.
I do
Like, that's a
too.
dead giveaway.
I think so
But
too.
it wouldn't be, like, a 6 months to, like, a year type thing for them to get it.
Yeah.
I think it would have to be a couple years.
I think
Because
so
to be
too.
honest, me and my best friend, we were like not, I mean, we kind of clicked when we started like getting that friendship together, but she didn't become like my ride or die until years later.
So
And I
I
think
think
it because of like how defensive a Pisces can be because of their walls.
Yeah. I think you're
Yeah.
completely right, because so B-Ro is a Pisces and him and Josh are like butt buddies.
Yeah.
But that took years to happen.
Exactly. I think it just takes time
Yeah.
because like Pisces won't want to open up right away because that's just not how they are. But a Gemini will.
Yeah.
So like it'll be interesting to see like how they interact and like if they are like, whoa, this chick's or this dude's sharing way too much, like it's kind of scaring me. Or if the Gemini is more of the like timid kind, because I'm not saying that they're all like extroverted as fuck all the time, because my best friend certainly is not.
Right.
It takes a certain person to bring that out of them, and I think that's also very like comparative to a Pisces because they won't show their true selves unless they're with someone comfortable, and it just takes time to develop that comfortability.
Yeah.
I love that. It's
I
so
love that
cute.
too.
Yeah, I love it.
You know what else I love?
What?
Can I be sappy for a second?
Oh yeah.
So while I was uploading everything, because you guys, I finally am catching up on uploading our episodes. I've gotten everything.
Sorry guys, about
snipped and
Spotify.
clipped. Dude, I swear to God, I'm so sorry. I just like because it's not automated, I keep like thinking that it's just gonna upload itself, and then like I
Guys,
get the
it was
reminder.
automated.
It was automated at one
That's what's messing
point.
her up.
At one point, like 16 episodes ago, it was automated. But now that I have to do it manually, it's so annoying. So I'm getting caught up on those, and I've got most of them clipped and shipped. So you should see them kind of premiering over the next couple weeks. But while I was doing it, I was just like, I like went back and I listened to our second or third episode, I think.
Yeah.
And I just love how comfortable it is to podcast with you now.
Yeah. I was just saying that earlier, like just to myself, because I was getting ready to like get online and like
Mm.
hop in the office with you. I was like, damn, I used to get so nervous beforehand. Granted, our first one, I'm not counting because like we were gonna be nervous no matter what.
Oh, for sure.
But you can still tell in the earlier episodes how like awkward-ish
Mm-hmm.
it was, where it didn't flow properly. But now I'm like, I don't even remember we're streaming sometimes.
I know. It just it feels really I feel like we've settled in so much that like it really does feel like I just get to have like a predetermined, like it
Dates?
feels like
Oh.
oh,
Oh.
Pride Month.
Pride Month?
But TwitchCon. But it feels like a conversation with you that is like predetermined. Like it feels like you were like, as if we were like, oh my god, did you watch this thing? Yeah, okay, let's talk about it Friday. Like it
Yeah.
feels like that kind of scenario more than like
Mhm.
a podcasting scenario. And it just
Yeah.
it makes me really happy because we're hitting, this is episode I think 23 or
Oh my
so.
god, yeah. And it's month 6, so we're technically halfway through the year.
Yeah. So we are.
That's
Yeah,
crazy.
it's so crazy to me to like think about it because hold on one second, I can actually tell you
Because
last
we were
episode.
literally
Oh,
teasing this
this is
before
episode
New Year's.
24. Yeah. So we are almost at that we have 2 episodes until we're at half of a year of doing this, and it feels like no time has passed at all since we started.
No, it feels
But
like
if
maybe late January
Yeah,
we've been
but
doing
if you
this.
go back and you listen to like our H.H. Holmes episode or
Oh,
like
I still love that
like
episode.
our Capricorns, the first like sign that we did or whatever, if you
Yeah.
go back and you listen to those, it is like we have come such a long way already, and I'm just so excited for the future, and I just like
Yeah.
need to gush about that for a second.
I don't think I ever thought of the repercussions of us doing a podcast, not only in the fact of like I get to hang out with you every week
Mm-hmm.
or I get to learn about these topics that we want to pick.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't necessarily think of how well it would turn how I'm talking to a quote unquote audience or who
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking to specifically. I feel like I've taken a lot of time from the start of this podcast to now of how well I put my words together and like how
Mm-hmm.
well it's formulating without stuttering, cuz if I start talking really fast, like for example, on something that I'm really passionate about
Mm-hmm.
or really excited about, or if I am really nervous for that day, for example, I stutter so bad. And I did notice that in the early episodes. I hardly ever do it now. And
Yeah.
I love that. And I love how more comfortable it is to like throw out ideas that isn't necessarily on topic, but it still adds that level of like personability, if that's a word, where you guys get an insight to us as
Yeah.
not only hosts but as people.
Yeah.
And I love that people can like vibe with that and like have a good day at work and be listening to the podcast, cuz I know a lot of you guys love listening to it at work.
It makes me smile every time that somebody tells me like, oh yeah, I caught the podcast on my drive home, or like I caught the
Yeah,
podcast.
that too.
Dude, anytime I hear anything like that, I'm like, it makes me happy that we have
My heart goes
created
doki
something.
doki.
Literally, I go doki doki so fast. But it makes me happy that we are able to provide you guys with anywhere between 1 to 2 hours of content that you can have on in the background that can let you kind of like vibe, feel like you're part of the conversation, and like, I don't know, maybe learn something new or like learn something interesting from us. And like, if it's just like having like 2 Gabby sisters in the back, like just chatting away while you try to take care of something important, then so be it. I'm just glad we
We'll
can be
be
that
those
for you.
chatty sisters. We got you.
Yeah, I'm like I'm just very proud of where we're at, and I'm very excited moving forward. And I am just glad I get to do this with you because I love you.
I love you too.
Bitch.
Oh, so cute. I love you, bitch.
Bitch. And we love all of you guys out there.
Yeah, we love the coveys. They're so cute.
And I
And I
think
love that like the random days that we have like actual interactions happening in the Discord. Not that we're saying like it has to happen all the time, but it's really cute and like seeing y'all interact with like the tweets we put out is amazing.
yeah, it's
Any little
very
bit.
it's also very encouraging because like we
Oh
like
yeah.
this is nothing without like you guys to give us topics, to come on and chat with us, to
Mhm.
like kind of keep everything moving along. There are a lot of the times where I'll say something in like our chat when we're doing the live podcast where I can include it because I'm like, oh, that's right. And like it's like so that always makes me feel happy too when somebody maybe has like information that I don't, or like
Yeah.
has a way to phrase something or
Better
says
than
something.
me.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I
Um
like that a lot
I
too.
love stealing your guys' one-liners and making them my
True.
own and taking credit for
Because
them.
who would know? How would they know?
How would they know? So I think we have a horoscope. Did you want to read it?
We do, but also I was wondering if you wanted to hear green flags or red flags first
Oh
for
shit,
wrapping up
that's right.
relationships.
You have red flags and green flags.
I
Um
do.
I think
They're not very good, I won't
let's
lie.
hit the usual and end on the green flags.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like the red flags are kind of like dead giveaways, especially in the regards of like how we've been talking about
Yeah.
relationship wise. Number one, starting off with them being very inconsistent. This can create that kind of instability or confusion within the relationship, leaving a level of indecisiveness to the Gemini side where I think they would need a little bit more of a grounded side on the other side for them to like have that indecisiveness go away or to
Mhm.
be secured or like stable in a way. But also I can still see like a green side to this where like even though they are inconsistent, I feel like even though it creates instability, sometimes you need a little bit of like spontaneity in
Yeah.
a relationship where this can kind of bring that, but it's not in like a good way,
Right.
if that
Yeah.
makes
Like
sense.
it would be nice if it came about in more of like a healthy manner,
Yeah.
but it's not the end of the world.
Yeah. It's just not the best.
And if you get somebody who just annoys you about being decisive,
Yeah.
then it can be I have that and it's infuriating, but it works.
But it works,
It
so don't
does.
worry
It's
about it.
highly effective because now I get so annoyed at the just pick that I just pick immediately.
True. That is true. Just pick forehead.
Just
Shut up.
pick.
Fine. I picked this.
Literally.
Yeah. And number two is Geminis might be a bit nervous in regards to getting into a relationship or talking about love in a way where like y'all are seeing a future together. So in a way because they are scared, not necessarily scared, but I guess closed off from that emotional side of themselves, they may shy away from the situation that may move forward from, for example, a situationship to a relationship to something that's like future tense that could work out. They will literally sit there and ponder over it and overcomplicate everything to the point where like because they're overthinking everything, they just might blow up the relationship before it happens.
Right.
It doesn't happen all the time, but it's definitely a red flag because like they're just getting nervous. They don't know that emotional side. Not all of them, but if they're not in tune with that side as well as they are in tune with their logical side,
Yeah.
it just will hit the fan.
Yeah.
And I feel so bad for that.
Yeah, that must be hard to wrestle with.
And this is where that two-faced side comes in with number 3 because you can talk to both sides, whether they have like
Mhm.
a somewhat emotional side or that logical side that you love to talk to and that's like their face that you love to just like go in depth with, learn everything about them. So, as we said before, they may love talking to you and like still kind of get bored in searching certain conversations, but not necessarily bored with you. But they're always on the look for various opportunities to find the quote unquote something better
Right.
that fits them better. They're not necessarily like shitting on you as a person. It's just like, this person over here is a little bit more interesting. So I'm going to go talk to them. it just kind of hurts sometimes.
Yeah.
So sorry, Geminis, but it might happen. And sorry, other signs who are a victim of this.
Yeah.
And so we got 2 green flags. I couldn't really find too many like for sure green flags
Mm-hmm.
because overall these next 2 are very broad in a way. Number 1 was saying that they're very chatty and expressive in their communication with their partners, friendships, acquaintances, all of them. They are very open to talking about problems and conflicts, so that means they're very good for communication based situations or
Mm-hmm.
relationships in general, which I find is a very positive thing, especially if you're coming from like a relationship that doesn't normally like have that openness, because I know a lot of relationships don't necessarily have that easygoing communication. Whether or not you like worked through it in a different relationship is not how it's applicable like right now, but the Gemini could just open your eyes to something different because of how open they are and like how willing they are to just like
Yeah.
talk with you about it. It can just be
Mm-hmm.
so eye-opening for someone who's not used to it.
Yeah. I
Mm-hmm.
think their communication skills would probably be, to me, the biggest green flag that they have. Just
Oh,
because, like,
100%.
how many issues arise just because communication isn't clear? And like
Yeah.
their biggest trait is being able to get rid of all that.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
And I feel like it also takes a level of like confidence, I guess might be the word,
Mm-hmm. Or
to
self-security.
yeah,
Yeah.
self-security to bring it up to a Gemini's attention or
Right.
anyone's attention. But I think it might be a little bit more quote unquote safe space for a
Yeah.
Gemini because you know that they won't just like throw it in your face and be like, "Nuh-uh, like that's not me," or
Yeah.
like that never happened and gaslight the shit out of you. No.
Yeah.
Like these people are very good about sitting down and like
Yeah. They're
taking a
gonna
second to
pat
talk it out.
they're gonna pat that seat cushion next time. They're gonna go, come, let's talk. Let's
Come.
talk.
Let's talk. You got water? I got water. Don't worry about
Yeah.
it. And the last one of the green flags is that they have that very curious personality, which means they're always looking to learn new things and learn more about their partner. For example, because they're so good about learning of new things in general, whether that be like a favorite topic, knitting, drawing, or like
Right.
movies. They're also really good about finding the likes and dislikes and like quirkiness of their partner, not to like use it to their advantage, but in a way that like you may not know that they know, but the second a Gemini brings it up in a conversation, you're like, "Oh my god, how did they know my favorite movie was XYZ? I only said that
Yeah.
like once in our
Yeah.
text months ago."
Yep.
And I love that. I love when they notice like little small details about you and they bring it up randomly or they're like, "Oh my god, yeah." And like your favorite color was like green or something. And you're like, "Oh
Mm-hmm.
my god."
It
Tuck's
always
hair behind ear.
that's like I sometimes I say like subtle callbacks is a love language of mine or something, because if the moments where I'm like, holy shit, you remembered that, like they fill me
Mhm.
with such joy, because
Mhm.
I'm like, that's such a minute detail that you like. It happens with my friend group all the time, because even though we're a heavily online based friend group, it's still like it transcends like a computer screen. Like I do
Oh yeah.
really feel close to them. And
Mhm.
so anytime that somebody's like, oh, well, yeah, because you, like, when you were in high school, you did XYZ, right? And I'm like, oh my God, I told that story in here. You remember that? Like, I don't
You're
even
like,
remember that. Yeah.
"Stop."
Whenever something like that happens, it makes me feel like, yeah, holy shit, like you care and I care. And this is a friendship now. Like, it
The
just
next words out of my
reinforces
mouth would
that.
be, "Oh my god, I love you."
Literally.
Like
Like I love you for remembering that.
yeah, I love it so much.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, that wraps up the love part of Geminis. Did you want to go ahead and bring it on home with a horoscope?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and do that.
All right.
So this is for today, the 14th. So if you are listening and you are a Gemini, maybe reflect on your day and see if this matched up with it.
Mm-hmm.
But for the 14th, it says, watch your mood as the Virgo moon squares off with Venus, dearest Gemini. threatening to put you in a temperamental state. Luckily, the Sun and Mercury unite in your sign, offering warmth and healing when you're honest about your feelings. However, don't hesitate to take space when you need to self-soothe, especially when Neptune stirs. You'll feel elevated and in the mood to play once Luna migrates into Libra, while exciting developments could occur within matters of the heart. Whisper your wishes to the universe mid-afternoon when Pluto activates, bringing spiritual and ancestral reinforcements your way. Take up space when Jupiter stirs tonight, relishing with the limelight.
That's so cute. Like, that one sounded poetic.
It is. It's actually very poetic. And I think
I love it.
It's cute because it's basically saying, like, yeah, like, you know, Virgo's on some shit, so it's gonna make you a little temperamental. You might get a little, like, angsty, but if you're honest with yourself, you know, Mercury's gonna make sure it takes care of you because that's your sign, or that's your planet. But, you know, like Neptune's gonna bring in that, like, self-reflection, so don't worry. It's like it's cute the way that it phrases it.
Yeah, it's like saying, like, yo, you might be feeling a little emotional right now, but, like, don't worry. All these other planets got your back. Like,
it's just Mercury drinking like Gatorade. It's fine. You're good.
It's fine. Yeah. But, like, I hope you guys enjoyed all of that and learning a little bit more about your Gemini selves or Gemini friends. You know, you can always put this into, like, your friendships as well, just because it lets you get a little insight of your friends that you wouldn't have necessarily sought out or noticed in them in the first place. Because, I mean, I learned a few things about my best friend that I didn't notice before. And it'll definitely, like, give me a new perspective in a way that, like, if she does bring something to my attention, that, like, I'll be like, oh, so this is why. Or, like, this is how I should go about it in a way to make it more comfortable in that space. Yeah. I love that. It's so cute. But talking about space, not like space as in like stars and moons and planets and stuff. There's a little bit of space that's like a little harder to talk about, and that would be our next topic for next week. We're going to be diving into the nitty-grittiness, and I'm not going to tell you exactly. But I don't know if you guys have ever heard of a little town, perhaps maybe 2 towns, where something has gone awry when someone tries to dictate how you should feel, how you should believe, and the religious side of things.
I'm so sorry. Week. I have to tell you something after the podcast because of this, okay? But anyways, we'll see you guys next week, and just remember, cubbies, keep it real, but keep it curious. Goodbye.